Hello, and thank you for calling the Higher Self Hotline, your direct line to the divine. You've been led here by your inner knowing, and you've arrived right on cue. I'm your host, Zoe Greco, and together we'll make the ethereal earthly, helping you consciously embody your spiritual knowing and most authentic self. Please listen carefully to the following options. To discover how to fulfill your soul's purpose, press 1. To unlock infinite abundance in life, love, and career, press 2. To heal your mind, body, and spirit, press 3. To speak with your personal spirit guides, press 0. Please hold while we connect you to your highest timeline. Hello, Divine Darlings, and welcome back to the Higher Self Hotline. I'm your host, Zoe Greco. Thank you so much for joining me today. And today, do I have a real unicorn of a guest for you? I am so pleased and so excited to welcome the absolute one and only Pamela Chen on to the show. Pamela is a magical business mentor and manifestation coach. She's the co-founder of a mystery school with her business partner, Alexandra Hanley, and together they train the next generation of spiritual leaders and mystics to become powerful healers and energetic masters. Their mission is to empower humanity, raise the consciousness of the planet, and activate the new Earth timeline. Hell yeah. Pamela is also an author and tarot and oracle deck creator with major publishers including Llewellyn Worldwide, Hay House, and US Game Systems. Her teachings blend quantum manifestation, energy alchemy, and soul-level magic to help others unlock their purpose and abundance. When she's not guiding clients or writing mystical books, you can find Pamela cuddling her chickens, watching Asian dramas, or indulging in her favorite snack, spicy Cheeto Puffs with avocado. She believes in living magically, manifesting boldly, and helping others awaken their most aligned, abundant lives. Pamela, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Zoe. Thank you for having me.
I have to say, it sounds like we spend our free time quite similarly. I don't have chickens, but I definitely am like a creature of comfort. I'm all about cuddling my pets, like cozying in for like a good watch and having that like comfort snack. So I love connecting with like spiritual people who also have very human hobbies. I just think it just humanizes us. Like it demystifies the mystical.
Yeah. Animals are great. I wish we could have like indoor animals, but my boyfriend won't let me. And so the chickens manifested and it works.
I love that. Well, outdoor pets or indoor pets, they're all loved. I would really love to start by kind of understanding the journey that you've taken to get to where you are. I mean, you've created so many offerings from books to tarot decks to mentorships to magic. Like, I would love to understand how your spiritual journey began and what led you to this path of supporting other mystics in their journey.
Yeah, thank you. So I actually moved out at a really young age, at the age of 16. And so back then I knew what it was like to struggle, to not have money to pay rent. And so the first thing I discovered was money magic. And so I remember one time I think it was like my car broke down and I didn't have the money to pay it. And I was just spiraling, I won't be able to get to work. I won't have money for rent. And I called my psychic and she was also a witch. She also did magic. And so she said, why don't we do a spell for money? And I knew magic was real, but I guess it didn't click to me at that time that I could use magic for myself. I guess that just wasn't a concept that I, knew. And this was like early 2004. And back then there was no manifestation. This wasn't a thing. And so we did the spell and the exact amount that I needed came into my account like the next week. And so I believed, and it really is part of my karma because I went through a lot of money challenges. And so I know that it's part of what I am supposed to be sharing with the world around money and magic and manifestation. And so that really opened me up to the magic, practical magic. And when I moved to Vegas, life was lifing and I was really hustling. I kind of lost sight of my spiritual path and magic, I decided to go to this holistic fair. And I walked in and there was a booth with these ladies around this crystal bracelet shop. And they were like, the energies are so great. And so I picked one up and I was like, I can't feel anything. And at that same holistic fair, my first psychic development coach and Reiki master teacher, I met her. She pulled me in. She's like, you need to work with me. And I said, okay. And so from there, I was able to now feel energy and learn energy. So I never really had that big awakening moment where, you hear a lot of spiritual teachers or mentors they have online. Mine just kind of opened up with each program that I took, each book that I read. And I also implemented what I learned and started creating a practice for myself and really, integrating everything that I was receiving. And so that was how I developed, how writing, and that's how I developed my magic. And so you don't need a big awakening. You can learn it all.
As you were talking about this, hearing you left home at 16 and kind of fell into witchcraft, like, I feel like that's every little witch's story is like at 16 years old, she gets her powers and like she becomes this witch. And I think the other really beautiful thing about your journey in particular that I really resonate with is the fact that it wasn't this like big dramatic event. Because we've had people on the show that are like, oh, I had a near-death experience, or, I had like, there's kind of this catalytic event that happens for them. And for you, it was kind of this natural progression in what sounds like remembering what has always been true for you, like the deeper thing that you already knew. And I find that, the fact that you were led into this quite naturally, there was this gradual awakening for you, but you also sound like you were just a beautiful and devoted student to the craft. Like you really kind of took the classes, took the mentorship, received the invitations. And I think that that's such an important journey for listeners to hear, because not everyone is going to have that catalytic event that kind of just opens them up suddenly. Many, many, many of my listeners are people who are on that path of seeking and desire and wanting to learn and grow. And hearing someone like yourself who is in the position that you're in now saying it was gradual and it happened piece by piece, and I just said yes to the invitations and devoted myself to learning, I think is really important for people to hear, because I think that that journey is more relatable perhaps than others, or even like my own journey where I just like was born activated and it never
I wish
turned
that
off.
was me. That would have been easier.
Honestly, girl, no, being a psychic little kid is actually fucked in its own way. It's not as glamorous as everyone thinks it is. So I honestly, I think that journey that you've taken is perhaps the most relatable and probably what makes you such a teacher. The fact that you've started your own school because you understand the value of learning. Do you feel like that's true, that your journey really shaped the offerings that you have to give?
I do, because when I create rituals for our clients, or, when I write my books, and I remember how I started and how I didn't have all of these tools or the money to even buy anything. And so you don't need all of, I remember, it's not about being really flashy, even though I know on Instagram, we for the gram, we take the pictures and stuff, but
Yes.
magic is not about that. Spirituality is not about that. And so I try to keep that in mind as I am creating these tools for our clients and even the business, because I remember how I started, and there was no way I could pay for ads. There was no way I could pay for a website. And so I teach how I started, and I remember when I started.
Mm. Okay, I seriously love that, because I feel like a lot of people, and I'm curious to see if this is an experience that you also have. I feel like a lot of people who are spiritual seekers are people who end up leaving home at a young age, or who are outcast. I find a lot of people in the queer community who have been displaced from their homes at a young age, or just people who have always felt like a black sheep, an oddball, like people who haven't had necessarily the support to make those dreams a reality, like people who often have to find their own way. And I do feel like there is a lot of glamorizing of the spiritual world and journey, but for you to be like, no, well, let's talk about how to bootstrap it. Let's talk about how to make it happen when you've got nothing. I feel like that is such a grounded, realistic, and again, very like relatable gift that you give to others?
I think a lot of people on their spiritual journey, my business partner, Alex, and I call it front loading the karma. We front loaded in the beginning of our life. And so that we can receive the learnings and wisdoms to share it with other people. Because if you had these hardships and karma, it's probably because you are being called to also help other people, not necessarily be an entrepreneur, but like you doing a podcast that this is helping thousands and millions of people, or just, your kids or your family and friends. And so this could show up as your highest mission in very different ways. And we were just talking about, so Alex and I also work with galactic energy and star seeds. And we're talking about how if you are a star seed, if you were incarnated here as a star seed, then it is your highest mission to transmute the energies and everything that you've experienced to help others.
I really love the way you talk about that. And I actually feel that in my own journey as well. I feel like the majority of my trauma was really packed in between like 14-ish to like 24-ish. And that 10-year sort of like portal of time really did feel like front loading my karma. It felt very much like, okay, let me learn all my lessons. Let me experience as much as I possibly can about like pain and loss and abandonment and everything that I think we pick up as practitioners in our own lived experience, or I'm going to correct that actually. Everything we pick up as human beings in our lived experience becomes this deeper empathetic knowledge that we can really hold others in because it is lived, because we know it. And then as a practitioner, we pick up even more of that through the work we do with our clients and living through their experience as well. I'm curious if your client work has informed your tools and your resources. Like when you were creating the things that you've created, like let's start with your decks first. Like when you're a deck creator, were those tools informed by your clients that you were working with, or were they informed by some sort of like higher guidance? Like where did your inspiration come from for those tools?
So my first self-published deck was Crystal Unicorn Tarot. And that was actually for myself because I was like, there's no tarot, that's unicorns. And then that became really, really popular in the self-publishing. I decided to self-publish. And then my first book, Enchanted Crystal Magic, at the time, my best friend and I were selling crystals on Instagram. And so we would, all of the clients would ask us questions about the energies of the crystal, how to work with the crystal. And so that was a book for them so that I answered all of the questions in there. And Tarot of the Owls, which was the next deck that came through, I was actually working on another project. And then all of a sudden, I think that was from the higher source, came through as like, hey, there's owls in every tarot deck, but not an owl tarot. And so that hit me. And I actually created the proposal with all of the art descriptions, 878 cards within 3 days. That's the fastest I've ever, it just like came through. And then Elizabeth Elba, the artist, she did Everyday Witch Tarot. I knew her from like giveaways. And so I reached out. I was like, hey, I'm submitting this. I hope you're my author because Llewellyn loved her. And then she's like, yeah, I'll do it. So I went back to my editor and I was like, Barb, Elizabeth said she'll be the artist. And she's like, OMG. She said, if she's your artist, then you get this contract. So that really aligned. That deck was like aligned, I think. And then I think the Wealth Witchery book was from my teachings, from teaching magic, from teaching wealth. And I think that is more of my like soul purpose books.
I would actually love to talk about Wealth Witchery. Your book, Wealth Witchery, 13 Rituals to Attract More Money, Magic, and Power, which I love the name. I'm hearing that like this was inspired by, the work that you're doing personally. But in the book, you share these 13 spells and 13 rituals, which like RICH tools, which I'm obsessed with, to help readers really call in wealth on all levels. And I would love to ask you, without getting you to give away too much, is there one spell or ritual that feels especially meaningful to you that you feel like is kind of your go-to for people that want to start in wealth work and like ritual work?
Yes. So the daily ritual that I still do is the wealth scripting. And so it's writing your reality as if it has already happened. And I usually write 2 pages, but you could just write a few sentences, but it's speaking as if you already had that thing. And so I will say, hey, it's December 2026, and I am so happy and grateful that and then I'll just list out all of the things that I've accomplished. And I have to say that everything I write down has come true. Some things might have not came immediately, but then when I look back I can't read my writing because I'm just scribbling, but it was like, wow, this came true. Yeah.
Yeah. The daily scripting, I think, is such a powerful tool because, as we know, your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So spending literally time every single day visiting your future and standing in that future in an imagined way actually changes your brain chemistry. So I would love if you could walk us through even a little bit more of that process for you. How far in the future do you usually write? It sounds like you do this every single day. So what does that look like and feel like for you? Is there a way that you kind of energetically prepare yourself to do that ritual, or take us into that a little bit more deeply if you can?
So if I can, I actually like to wake up early before anyone's awake. Because when people are awake, then your energy is kind of meshed. And then what they're thinking is going into your brain. So if you can, you don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. But if you can, try wake up a little bit earlier. And I like to do some Kundalini Kriyas or some type of movement and energy to get my energy already up. And then I will start writing. And you can light a candle. I don't think I light a candle, but that would help. And I start writing, and it's like I'm going into a trance, just writing whatever is coming out, whatever it is I desire. After I write, then I will sit there and then I will visualize. I'll visualize, throughout the year what I wrote or even more, and just really holding it in my body. And Alex and we certify the Awakened Bliss codes. These are very similar to Reiki, but there's all these other usages. And so I will send the codes into my writing, and I just really, really get into it. It's really funny. And then I'll just see a light shooting up into the universe, sending my intentions, sending my reality out there so that it connects to the quantum field and brings it in. And then I think after that, I do like to chant, or I do this, and when I chant, I do like to walk outside. So mine is a lot to do with movement, because I feel like if you can bring that into your body, because we live in the physical and it's not only energetics, that's going to help you manifest a lot faster.
That's such a cool way to talk about it. I don't think I've really heard people talk about bringing movement into their process, but it makes sense, because if you can bring momentum energetically into your own body, to carry that momentum into your writing, to send that momentum up into the ether, I really feel like that makes a lot of sense in terms of how we can cultivate that energy and continue to move it in kind of this quantum way. So I actually really love that. You had talked about something in the earlier part of your process that I wanted to ask you about. Let me see if I can recall it for a second.
I was going to say the movement, because, when you're excited, you're moving. And when you quantum leap, it's actually when your cells are vibrating really fast. So,
wow. Okay. That is so amazing. I love the way that you bring the quantum into the work that you do. And the thing that kept coming to me as you were talking, I was looking at you and I'm like, whoa, this is a modern day witch. Truly, real recognize real. I be doing my witchcraft as well. And I love to see the way that witches have reincarnated into this modern era, and the way that we choose to live and how we choose to serve. And so I'm curious how you identify. Actually, do you identify with a past life in witch work? Do you identify as a star seed? Tell me a little bit about kind of your own karmic journey into this work, if you are connected to that.
I have so many things that I believe in and connect with. I definitely do connect with being a witch. And I know that in my past lives, I was some sort of medicine woman or witch during my past life regressions, and a lot of priestess priestess work too. So priestess work in the desert, that's part of my lineage, is a desert rose priestess. And so I know that I've worked with somewhere in Egypt, in Kem, and with Hathor, a lot of Egyptian goddesses. And so a lot of sound frequency. So that's actually one of the things that I had to work on, because I was never a speaker. I was never a singer. I didn't chant before. And I knew that was one of my soul gifts. And so sound really creates anything in your life. So it can open portals. It can create healing for us. And so that was something I really had to work with. And so a sound priestess in my path, and definitely a star seed. I know that I have Lyran, a lot of Lyran energies and avian energies, which are like the lions and the bird. So Lyran, if you think of like Sekhmet, that, she was probably from Lyra. Mm-hmm.
Wow. How do you connect to these pieces of your soul? Do these visions like kind of arrive to you? Do you go seeking them? I feel like many people can feel the vibration of like a past lived experience, but they often struggle to identify it or hone in on it or be able to really trace back a magical lineage in the way that you have. So I'm curious how you came to these awarenesses.
One was really cool because I actually dreamed, and then I woke up speaking a word. And then when I Googled it, it was like a mountain range. And so that confirmed the lineage. And the other ones was through like past life hypnosis regression. So a good thing about business partners is that we have each other. And so we would pass like regression each other if we got stuck. And also we host these retreat weekends for the academy that we teach at. And it's a spiritual ascension retreat weekend where you get initiated with the codes. And it blows my mind. And a lot of the things that I've downloaded, we've been doing this for almost 3 years now. And because, we're teaching, so I have to go to everyone. But each time I get all these new downloads, from my books, from my decks, from past lives, from working with this tool, from working with this guide, or, all of the soul gifts that gets activated. I remember one retreat weekend, and it was specifically to awaken a soul gift. And I remember Alex was like, I got buckets. Does anyone know what that means? And we didn't. And then all of us started getting nauseous. I even had to stop because I was going to throw up. And so I was thinking, because I just came back from an ayahuasca ceremony, I was like, buckets, because we throw up in buckets. I was like, Alex, you're making us puke. And because puking is the fastest way of purging. And so that was her soul gift that she got at that time. And we're like, no, this is like the worst soul gift ever.
Turn it off.
Yeah. So that hasn't come online too much since she got that though. So
that's such a cool experience to take people onto these journeys to be able to awaken a soul gift. I'm really feeling how channeled your work is and how much it feels like it really comes from not just the ether, but like from the galaxy. Like I really feel that galactic energy in you, and like the way that it comes through, it feels like you are. And this is just my perception. Like I'm open entirely to you being like, Zoe, no, that's not true. But like as an observer of your work, it feels like you are truly a channel for like almost like threshold experiences, like taking people through portals back into remembering, but also into activation. And the activation feels like it comes both from like soul level past life experiences, but also soul level like present life experiences. Like what are you here to activate and awaken and embody in this lifetime? Is that how the work feels for you? Is like this kind of channeled process?
Yes, 1000%. So I work a lot with the Akashic records, which is around beyond time and space. And in the Akashic records, it holds all of the information of the past, present, and future self, everything, every person, and every place. And so I do like to connect with the Akashic so much. And mostly all of my work, I do go up to the records first and connect to that realm or whatever, guide. And sometimes when I read my own stuff, I'm like, did I write this? I don't even remember writing it. Or, I have editors, so they make me sound really, really good. But I'm just like, wow, I wrote this. Yeah, it's really amazing.
I love that process for you. It sounds like your work is very collaborative. Like it sounds like even when, the writing and the work you do there, you've got like your editor, you're working with with illustrators. Like it seems like there's a very like collaborative, supportive process. And then on the other side of your business, you've co-created and co-founded this school. So alongside your authorship, you're also not just a spiritual entrepreneur, but you're the co-founder and teacher at the Integrative Healing Academy. And this is where you train and certify light leaders. So I would love if you could talk to us a little bit more about the kind of people that it's designed to support. How do people know if it's time for them to explore the Integrative Healing Academy?
Yes. So we have two paths in the academy, which is the spiritual ascension and then the business ascension. And so Alex was actually one of my student in business. So when I was teaching business, yeah, and she was doing $3 tarot readings, and she said, so if you're like Alex, if you're doing like, and that was me, I was doing like love donation healings. Right. And so
totally. We all start there.
Yeah.
Everyone starts there.
Yeah. And she was like, and she had a massive awakening. So we're total opposites. So she had like this yoga breath experience, and she like opened up. She had to move back to her parents' house in the mountains for 4 years studying ancient text. And that's her. And so she found me during that time, and she's like, I know I'm supposed to be a spiritual teacher. And so she didn't know how, though. She didn't know how to put it together. And so she came to me, and I experienced the creation when she channeled the codes. And that was actually from the Akashic records. And I felt it. And so a few years later, when I actually split up from my previous business partner, then we won the Hay House contract for a deck. And then we got together. So I actually learned all of the galactic things from her because she's the galactic expert. So I'm pretty new to that journey too, but it has been a wild ride. Like just coming from practical earth, I guess you could say like earth magic, to all of, I'm like, whoa, there's tons of information out there.
A whole universe. Yeah.
But I think it is for the people who have that calling of, I want to heal the world, but I don't know how, or I know I have these gifts and I need to activate them, or that I don't have any gifts, like me, and I need to learn, I need to have the tools to help people. Right. And then also we get a lot of clients who are also already very creative. They have all of these downloads. They have all of these ideas. They work with 10,000 guides, but they don't know how to throw it all together and focus and create a structure because, business is business. It's not a hobby. If we just, this workshop. There's actually a strategy that almost all successful entrepreneurs online, whether spiritual or not, follow. And I think what's great about what Alex and I do is that we understand energy, we understand the spiritual component and the magic. And so we teach spiritual entrepreneurs, and we understand how you can create a program with your tools instead of, I really struggled with just like a regular business coach because they were very bro marketing, very out there, and you can't use the same system or creation or a program creation as just a regular coach.
Yeah. Wow. So it sounds like people who know they have gifts or want to have gifts are really the ideal audience for your school, the people who want to activate and be awakened. I'm so curious, you've talked about, finding Alex and building that whole world together, which is so amazing. And I think that journey too is really cool. I love actually interviewing duos. So maybe you guys should come back together.
Yes,
I think that'd be so fun.
She would love that.
Because I feel like when you're in a duo, really there's this melding of energies. And I'm hearing that you are the earth medicine and Alex is the galactic medicine. And together you're really unifying as above, so below. Ooh. So I'm really curious to kind of hear about your personal process in accessing the Akasha, because I feel like, for me as a reader and an intuitive being, if I'm just with someone, I'm picking up on their energy and I'm receiving downloads on their behalf. Usually I really, really, really believe in consent. And so if those messages are coming in and coming through, I'll kind of take them and put them to the side unless someone has asked for them specifically. But it is a gift that is, not I think, easy to turn off. And especially if you want your channel open and you want to be an active channel, you do kind of have to be able to hold like the voltage of that information flowing in pretty consistently. And again, I believe in consent in spiritual work. Like I always tell people, I'm not the psychic that's going to approach you in the grocery store and be like, great Aunt Bessie is like trying to, I believe in like consent when we're having a spiritual experience because not everyone's ready for that. But if something is coming through it from like people in my personal life and I just can't help but, feel the feeling, I'm like, is there room for an observation? Is there room for a reflection? Like, are you open to this? So I'm curious, like, how your channel operates. Like when we're sitting here together right now, I keep getting this feeling like I need to ask you if you have anything to tell me. So I'm just curious, like what comes through for you and how your channel tends to like flow and function.
Yeah. And I was going to actually say, if you have messages for me, I'm open.
Okay, cool. I love that.
Yeah. So I was a blackjack dealer in Las Vegas casino for 15 years.
That is so queen of you. I'm obsessed with that. Okay, yes.
So
keep telling your story.
I was like open to everybody and a lot of drunks. And wild people inside of the casino. And so I think through that experience, I learned how to create like a shield or a boundary within me when I need it. And now it's more automatic. In the beginning, I did have to shield myself. I had to clear. I had crystals like in my bra, like everything. And now it's just kind of automatic. If I go to places with a lot of people, I'm not stressed out or overwhelmed or anything because I'm used to it. And this does take training though. So, and so I only open, and I also give myself time, a space for the channeling. So sometimes, you have channeling coming in that you don't need at the time. You're like, I'm trying to focus. So that's if you're not giving yourself time to channel, then all the messages is going to come in the middle of the night. You're going to wake up, not being able to sleep. So give yourself time. And even with our students, if I'm on a coaching call, we still ask permission if they're open and willing to share. I know their consent is there, obviously, but they sometimes they'll be like, maybe later, and that's fine. But yeah, I think consent is a big thing. Even with the Awaken Bliss codes, you have to have consent to receive. And so I could just blast you with all the codes, but if you don't want it, then that, it's not going to come to you. So we always ask for consent. I think that is a really big thing. And my channel comes through mostly clairvoyance, I would say. So I see and feel a lot of the things, and that's how I share. Yeah. So if you do want me to tap in for you, I can.
I'm kind of curious actually, because I want to just put this out here on the air and say, like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but like I know the real deal when I'm with the real deal, and I really feel it in you, Pamela. Like I really feel it in you. There is something so authentic and genuine and profound in your energy that maybe I'm channeling also right now. Like I'm feeling like spirit's like speaking to you, but like there is something so open and open-hearted, but also like profoundly ethical. Like I find your energy and your delivery profoundly ethical. Like I think that's why I wanted to open up the conversation of consent, because you do work with people in, that very vulnerable transition of like, I'm starting to identify who I am and now I want to learn. And I think, as mentors and coaches, we hold and wield a lot of power. And when we have to wield that with responsibility and with care and with love. And I just really feel that flows through you automatically. So I want to just throw it out there and say that anyone who wants to learn about their spiritual gifts, I am full co-signing Pamela. Like I'm like, Zoe Greco seal of approval. Like for my listeners, because they trust me, right? And like, I'm like, whoa, you know what, guys? Like I'm in this conversation, I'm in this experience, and I'm just going to say what I'm feeling. Like what I feel is real. I feel this real, genuine flow through you. And that's why I was like, oh my God, wait, can you read for me? Like give us a little demo of your gifts, because like it feels like the energy feels palpable. Like we're just on a video and I'm like, whoa, Pamela, Your vibes are very strong and like just delicious and true. So I'm curious if anything shows up and flows in, like I would love to receive it. And if nothing comes through, we can just edit this out.
I do. No, I do. I do. Curious. I do have some messages for you, but
is there anything I should do to like center or receive, or anything you want me to do to
like, no, you're fine. Yeah. I was getting some stuff while you were speaking, but I just want to acknowledge and thank you and receive everything that you have shared. I'm actually very straightforward person. And so I think I had to learn compassion around, because I'll just like tell you, because I think it was the way that I was brought up. I just had to get things done or I won't be able to survive, And so I think at the beginning of my coaching, I was just like, do this. But then now I'm more aware of not everybody is the same. And there's different ways of them approaching their work and how they express themselves and create. And so now it's more open. Okay, what do you want to do? Let's do it together. Yeah. All right.
That's so compassionate. So, I love that. I want more on that later.
Yeah. Do you work with like any saints? Does any saints come out to you? Maybe even
I don't actively work with saints, but if there's one that's trying to come through or come forward, like I welcome that. And I'm actually feeling the presence of that energy as we're having this conversation.
Okay. So I don't work with a lot of saints either, only Saint Germain. So might be I don't know if there's a Saint Joseph, but maybe it might be Saint Germain or Saint Joseph or something around there. But I'm getting that is like they have a message for you, like really, and you don't have to like work with them, but they just have a message for you. And I got the words free orange. I don't know if that makes sense. So that's a clue.
Free orange.
Orange.
Cool.
That's a clue. Okay. And then I did get that next year, and it might be really soon. It might be beginning of the year that you're going to create like a big stage or event. Maybe are you doing like an in-person podcast tour and having like people on stages? Oh, I just got chills. So that.
Oh my gosh.
Chill.
Guys, should I go on tour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it's like a whole, like you're on stage and you're speaking. It looks like you're leading. So it's not like you're doing other people's stuff. And that, it could be a podcast tour or whatever on stage event. Yeah. So I see you doing that. And it will land in January because it says a new path and something to do, and also in January, February, something to do with like relationships that's going to be opening. So I don't know if you're currently in a relationship. I feel like maybe it's something you and your partner will do together, or it could be you and a business partner, but it just seems like there's a new path opening around relationships.
Okay. Love that for me. I am happily married, but everything you're saying is pointing toward this thing that I've already been feeling about next year. So for you to just kind of validate all of that is very cool. A podcast tour wasn't exactly what I was thinking, but like I'm 100% open to that. And free orange. I would love to speak on that actually, if I may, because so I haven't talked about this yet, but I think by the time this comes out, it will already be happening or it's about to happen, but I'm recording music right now.
Wow.
Yeah. And orange to me is like our sacral. It's that creative essence and like freeing that energy, like taking my creative energy and putting it into the world is like, as soon as you said free orange, I was like, that's exactly what I knew they were saying. And so, I'm currently working on music with someone and I'm really excited about it. And I have 2 songs. I'm going to release like a little 2-song EP in like February. And so I think by the time that this comes out, either it'll be like about to happen or maybe it just happened. So that's so, so cool. And I want to just say, like, as you're channeling, I feel it. I feel it in my shoulders. Like I feel it in the crown of my head and in my shoulders.
Yeah.
And it's like this feeling like whenever I'm channeling, I kind of feel like a tingle on like the crown of my head, down my neck and like down my shoulders and arms. And so I know what it feels like when the channel is open. And when you're speaking to me, I'm feeling that same openness. And I'm just like, whoa, Pamela, you're amazing. Ooh, like, this is beautiful.
Should we do you want like a light language and ABC code activation for like new beginnings and opportunities and for everybody? Okay.
I consent on behalf of the collective as well. Anyone that's in this space and has entered this realm, they are here on a soul contract experience. And anyone that does not feel resonant with that, feel free to like fast forward through this. But I think we all want to receive. So I I accept the opportunity to be the conduit for that receptivity for the collective.
So I'm just going to send some codes first. So we're going to be opening the portal, and you can just relax and receive. I'm going to send the bliss code. So this is like activating the inner magic, inner bliss. I'm going to, of course, use the manifestation code. So whatever you are manifesting for 2026, think of that now. And then I'm going to use the ancestor code. I think there's a lot of support and guidance from my ancestors now. And I think who's coming through is Saint Germain for that violet flame cleansing and activation. And so just receive. Take a deep breath in, hold it at the top, and exhale. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you.
Pamela.
Okay.
Thank you. I want you to know I'm wearing these secret headphones when I record. You can barely see them, but they're like the bone conductors. It literally felt like you were speaking that light language into my bones. Like it felt like you were on either side of my head, like speaking it into my ears, and it was going into my bones, and I felt the vibration of it, and I was like, whoa.
Wow.
So anybody, if you're out there and you have bone conducting headphones, go ahead and put those on and re-listen to the code. Or if you just have like immersive noise canceling headphones, highly, highly recommend. That literally felt like it was coming into my body. Whoa. Pamela, I'm having so much fun. I feel like we're at a sleepover.
Yeah.
And this is honestly, like as a child, my journey was slightly different than yours. I actually used oracle cards even in childhood. Like they were gifted to me when I was around 7 years old, and I started playing with them from that point forward. And I remember like taking them to sleepovers and like pulling cards for my girlfriends. And like, that is the feeling I have when I connect with you, is like, there is so much joy. There's bliss. There's joy in the way that you deliver this medicine. And I know for a fact, like, I'm speaking love on your name for a moment. Like, this is our first opportunity to ever connect, like soul to soul, like human to human. I once again just want to say, like, I feel the validity of your gifts. I feel the integrity of your delivery. I feel the earnesty and the love through which you deliver. And honestly, like, your direct nature is your gift. Like, it is your gift. And being able to speak direct love, because that's what you do, is like you speak direct love. And your voice is such a profound gift that you bring to this world. So I'm so grateful that you found it. And I'm curious if you can speak to that process, actually, because I know there are a lot of channels listening to this episode who I really feel are like meant. It's so funny. I have to just say this. Like, I feel like when people listen to the show, they're here to hang out with me. But this episode, like, they are here to hang out with you. Like, I don't know what is about to happen, but whoever tunes in for this episode, whoever's here in this moment, they're here for you. Like, this is about you in the biggest way possible. So I'm curious if you can tell the people who want to walk in your footsteps, who have felt silenced or isolated, or like they were at that rock bottom place, like, how did you find your voice as your tool in this work and in this mission?
So English is my second language. So even sometimes now I can't find the words, and I just keep going. And I think you just have to.
What's your first language?
Mandarin, Chinese. I'm from Taiwan. Yeah.
So, amazing.
Yeah. And then I grew up in Hawaii. And so everyone was like Japanese. Like, there's no Spanish. We just all take Japanese. Everybody speaks Japanese. So it's a lot different. Yeah. But, I was pretty shy. And I remember when my coach was like, hey, you have to go on social media and, you have to do stories. That took me a really long time. I remember my first story. I was sitting in the car before work, and it took me 30 minutes just to record like a minute, because I kept deleting. And what I think one of my superpowers is not giving up. And so just keep going and just keep trying. And if it doesn't work, it's past. And you just if you mess up, what can you do? Just keep going and you fix it the next time. And so I just kept on practicing and showing up with the light language and chanting. I I love music. I love listening to music, but I'm not an expert in music. But I always wanted to do light language too. And I went to like 3 coaches. I went to a voice coach. I went to a voice healing coach. I went to another spiritual coach to activate my light language, and it just wouldn't come out. And when I met Alex, when Alex and I was starting to get together, she was already doing it. And I was like, Alex, I want light language. She's like, yeah, here's the code. At the time, I didn't know the codes yet. So she blasted me with some codes. And then like 10 minutes later, I was like, it just came out, not as amazing, but it did come. I started to come out and I was able to understand it. And it's different. I guess it enters you differently because now you have to just release and relax and just let it go. See whatever. Sometimes it's wild. I didn't do my wild ones because it can get crazy, but it's really funny, the wild ones. And so you just have to let it flow and you have to really trust with the light language. But those codes really help me awaken it. Yeah.
I love the fact that you're multilingual. And not only are you multilingual in the human, like Earth realm, but you're multilingual in the galactic realm. Like that's actually such a beautiful thing. And perhaps like this just came to me as I was listening to you, but do you feel like there's any specific connection between like the way that you had to learn to communicate and maybe like the block that was preventing the light language from coming out? Or do you feel like maybe it was just Alex that needed to come forward to be your activator? Like it was, that soul contract experience, or perhaps like a combination of all of those things?
I think she was the activator, and that because I think, and we can talk about our partnership in the next time around, but we didn't know we were going to be partners. It wasn't like we're like, yeah, we're going to be partners. It just kind of like fell together. And so I think she was meant to be, and I was meant to also work with the codes and start, certifying and, combining our business. And I think that made me a really big believer. I got to say, I was like, wow, I've been trying for 2.5 years and one minute it came through. And, I think for me also, I was able to, so the more you listen to it, also the more you can share it. And I think just like the way that she was doing it, I was like, oh, I can do it too. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so that really helped.
Something I find really beautiful about your share, and this is where I was saying too, like on these interviews, I have prepared questions, but I also have things that just are born of the conversation that we're genuinely having. Like we're two real people having a real conversation. There's something that I'm witnessing in you that I really want to call out and name, because I've spoken to hundreds of amazing, cool people through this work that I've gotten to do, interviewed some of the coolest, best people ever. And there is this level of humility in you that is so nuanced. It's like, it feels both confident, like truly grounded in confidence, and also so humble and open. Like, I don't think many people would say, oh, like I was this, successful entrepreneur and published author and deck creator. And then one of my own students became like a mentor to me in some ways. Like people they're not willing to have those conversations and say those things. And there's just so much humility in the way that you share, but like the way that you're sharing and the way that you're speaking it out, there's so much conviction and confidence that it's like, yeah, why shouldn't one of your students be one of your like teachers? Why shouldn't you end up working together? Like, why shouldn't you continue to expand and evolve? And there's also a lot of humility in your story too, in the way that you're like, I heard you talk about hiring like 5-6 different people to like teach you and guide you. And like, that is so powerful. And I think that that's what makes you a really qualified teacher, because you understand the value of being taught. Like you're just really not sitting in your ego. And I have to say, like, it's fucking beautiful. Like it excites me, and I feel lit up. And I think anyone who's been listening to this conversation, who experienced the light code, like I feel my heart open after that, and experiencing your gift firsthand. I just felt called to ask you to like demonstrate in some way, because I wanted people to like feel it. But yeah, like there's just something about you that is it's just true. Like everything you speak is true, and it comes from your heart of truth. And so I don't know if you want to like respond back to that in any way, but I just had to reflect that to you and say, like, I've done this a lot with a lot of people, and you genuinely are special.
Oh,
Like,
thank
you're just
you.
special.
Thank you. I mean, I feel like everyone has their own magic and expertise. And that's why, I love helping other entrepreneurs because we can't do what they can do. And so, yeah, if our clients has a special program and we're like, Alex and I take it because they are the expert in their field. And I do have to say, I did have a little bit of an ego. So right before Alex, and this is probably why the universe like checked me, So right before Alex and I got together and I just got my contracts and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I know all of the magic, which we never do. And then they hit me with all of this galactic stuff. I'm like, OMG, I don't know anything. And I was like, okay, I surrender. Now I know that I don't. I mean, I know that I don't know everything, but I really don't know anything now.
I think that that's like a very necessary piece of the journey, though. Like, I also I have been seated deeply and in a very fixed way in my ego at certain parts of my journey. And I think like we must know our ego and identify with our ego in order to understand the part of us that we must separate from, that we must become an observer of. Like, you have to live inside of it to know its voice and know it intimately to be able to observe it from the outside. And I know you talk about being, a steward for the new earth. And so I would love to kind of begin to conclude our time together. I have two more questions for you, but my first of the two is, how do you envision 2026 for listeners? Like, what step do you think we're taking in 2026 toward the new earth?
So I think 2026 is going to be fabulous for a lot of you who have already been on your spiritual path or is starting and is practicing. So it's not just about one new moon spell, or it's not just about, 11/11 or any of that. It's about continuing to develop yourself and your spirituality daily and being in that energy and the embodiment of who you desire to be. And I think if you are locked into that and you're taking physical aligned action, so not just like, hey, I set up my wealth corner, it's amazing, and sit back and watch Netflix and not do anything, but if you're doing the spirituality and you're taking physical action, then 2026, especially towards the end, it's going to blow up for you. And so Alex studies and I study something called the Vedas, the Yugas. And so this is a cycle of ascension that was written over 5,000 years ago by sages. And this is like thousands of years, but we are ascending right now. And so right now it is the awakening of magic and technology. And we see that because we see everybody, spiritual crystals and Sephora, that was not there 10 years ago, right? And technology is like blowing up. And so this is the trend, it's going up. And the new earth, you can kind of think of it like the golden age, which we are going towards. But it is when there is harmony and when enough of us has awakened to remembering who we are and have this higher consciousness. And it's not you versus me or this side and this side, where we're coming together in unity consciousness, divine feminine and the sacred masculine. And this is when we get to create that bliss, that peace, that joy on earth. And yeah, the golden age is what we're looking to bring in.
I love to hear it. I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about 2026 from like a numerological perspective as well, but I love to hear like what other channels are receiving on behalf of the collective, because I think we all get a piece of the vision, and it's our job to like deliver that piece so that people can collect it and start to put together the pieces that resonate for them strongly. So I'm really just honored and excited that you shared your piece with us of that vision. And I would love if you could tell listeners about where they can experience your magic and your gifts. Where can they connect with you? Where can they work with you? Where can they learn from you? How can listeners become unicorns?
Yes. Oh, I love that. How you can become a unicorn. So you can find me on Instagram, Pamela Unicorn. And usually every single month we host free events. So come join that. We like to work with the portal days. So 12/12, 111, 222, very powerful days. And we can, manifest and create magic together. And everything that we have listed, all of the programs that we are launching, will be on my Instagram, Pamela Unicorn.
Amazing. Pamela, I can't thank you enough for coming to have this experience with me. I I kind of fell in love today, and you're definitely going to be hearing from me, and I'm going to be up in your DMs. Like, I am just so grateful and so honored to be able to share your voice and share your gift and your message and your mission with the world. And I feel humbled to hold this space for you. So I just want to thank you for being here and being you and demonstrating and sharing the gift and letting us receive the code today. And I just can't thank you enough for who you are and what you do and how you do it, because the way you do it is truly beautiful.
Thank you so much, Zoe. And you're like the best, like BFF spiritual cheerleader ever. And thank you, everyone.
That's my gift.
Yeah, you're so good. And thank you, everyone, for receiving the magic. I am so grateful to be here and to be with everyone. And let's rise together.
Well, there you have it, blessed babes. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode. And I would love if we could take a moment to send this week's subject, Pamela Unicorn, some love, sweetness, and positivity as she continues to channel the codes, open our eyes, open our hearts, and take us further into our gifts. If you're interested in being on the podcast, you guys know what to do. Send an email to podcast@zoegreco.com. Connect with me on all socials at @thezoegreco. And of course, I want to conclude by reminding you that you are important, you matter, and you are perfect exactly as you are. I love you. Your spirit guides love you. Pamela loves you, and the universe loves you. So until next time, keep answering the call of your higher self. Bye, friends.